With everyone clamouring for that other Cyberpunk game due for release in a few weeks, it almost feels like Ghostrunner, a hardcore first-person slasher, is going to take a bit of a back seat. However, with its fast-paced puzzle platforming nature, is it one that you shouldn't sleep on? You know the drill by now when it comes to cyberpunk games. Set in a dark dystopian future, there's at least one shady corporation, and there's an abundance of neon lighting and rain, with copious amounts of hyperviolence thrown in for good measure. What separates Ghostrunner from most other games, however, is that the protagonist has a sword. A big one. That sword's used to great effect from the get-go, with you picking up the mantle as the titular Ghostrunner and slicing enemies in half as you make your way through the slick, neon-lit streets of Dharma Tower, the last bastion of humanity in a world ravaged by a cataclysmic event. It is, of course, as oppressive and overbearing as you can imagine, and the thumping techno soundtrack that underpins the whole game only adds to the aesthetic. How, then, does the first-person slasher play? Well, it's almost as if the developers had found a list of things that I like personally and thrown them into a blender, then adding their own devilishly difficult twist onto things. The obvious comparison's with Mirror's Edge, but in addition to that, it cherry-picks the best elements of Titanfall's parkour and wall running, and adds a sprinkling of the kind of clockwork puzzle mechanics that I love about the Hitman series. Enemies always spawn in the exact same place, and you have to figure out the best way to get past them. Every aggressive act in the game results in a one-hit kill, whether it's you or an enemy, and you need to run, dodge and slide around to avoid getting hit by the projectiles being fired at you by a multitude of faceless foes. Of course, any game where you get one-shotted needs the ability to quickly jump back into the action, and it's here where Ghostrunner shines. Upon seeing the bright red critical failure screen, and you will see that a lot, a quick tap of the Y button or R key throws you straight back into the recent checkpoint with absolutely zero loading, allowing you to give the run another try. It evokes memories of Super Meat Boy, and after a little while you start to get some of the other emotions from Team Meat's seminal platformer bubbling up as well. I am, of course, talking about being incredibly frustrated. You see, the thing about a game where you get one-shotted that's also in first person is that you have to have eyes in the back of your head. There's a reticule that suggests the location of enemies that will be about to fire off a shot, but at times the screen can be so chaotic that I found it difficult to use this as a barometer of a possible incoming death. It's undeniable that the short, sharp deaths become teeth-gnashingly annoying at times, particularly when there's an enemy that you had no idea about lurking behind a corner. However, with the instant restart mechanic, you can get a decent idea of where things went wrong and then immediately rectify it with your next run. I've got to be honest with you, the story in Ghostrunner didn't really grab me all that much. It seemed fairly by the numbers, with twists and turns happening when you expect them, and a simple enough set of narrative tricks to keep you mildly entertained. What did keep me hooked, however, was the exceptional gameplay and sumptuous visuals. Ghostrunner starts off with a katana to the head and simply doesn't stop. Tapping the shoulder buttons to jump between walls, swinging the sword and activating an increasing range of cool abilities, I found myself eagerly hitting Y just to retry one too many times late into the evening. It's got an addictive quality, and as mentioned, the puzzle element of the game just scratches a real itch for me, one that simply doesn't get scratched off until I've gotten that perfect run sorted. Technically, Ghostrunner left me seriously impressed. The game looks absolutely fantastic, and it runs just as well. Admittedly, I played the game through with a hefty PC, Ryzen 1700, RTX 3080 and 32 gigs of RAM, but the game ran on high at a locked 120 frames per second at native 4K. When the RTX functions were enabled, it of course became a different story, but I was able to get at least 60 frames a second running at 4K with DLSS in performance mode. Somewhat annoyingly, the ray tracing elements are limited to on or off, and I would like to see the individual components added into the settings via a patch. However, with these settings turned on, the difference in places is marked. Reflections ping off flat shiny surfaces, shadows react realistically over distance, and the lighting just feels more authentic with RTX turned on. As is the case in general right now, combining this with DLSS seems to give the best bang for buck performance on a PC, particularly at higher resolutions. Unfortunately, I'm unable to comment on the console performance as we only had access to the PC code for now. Ghostrunner is a visual spectacle of a game that lures you in with its pretty lights before digging its hooks into you with its frenetic and unforgiving gameplay. There will be moments of maddening frustration and difficulty spikes that would give Cuphead a run for its money, but when it comes down to it, it's a game that you can pick up for short enough blasts to get that little bit further up Dharma Tower. Great fun, if not a little repetitive in places. Thank you for joining us, guys. If you have enjoyed this review, please drop us a like, leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel. We've got a load more content coming up soon, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.